I want to ask you about that 2019 game down in Waco, especially Nick Benito. What do you remember from his performance at the end of that game, not only the interception, but leading up to that, and just how big was that for his growth and development, confidence, all of that stuff?
Yeah, there's only certain parts of that game where you even want to talk about it. That's one of them. But I think at that stage in his career, obviously, he's a young player, redshirt freshman, a rotational guy, was really, positioning himself to, in some ways, be an every down guy, but as much as anything, was someone that continued to build trust with his teammates, one, and two with the coaching staff, but didn't have a lot of production. I mean, getting lined up was kind of check the box, and we were sure glad he did, and be where you're supposed to be, and that, and opportunity at the end of the game to make a, which in turn for him is not a career-defining play because he's made so many since then, but in that moment. That's exactly what it was. I mean, that someone had to make a play. I tell the guys in 2-minute scenarios that someone has to make a play, and so often the offense has the advantage because they know they have to make a play. We get the benefit, quote unquote, that if time runs out, then in reality we win the game. But so having it, and one of the things we try to make a real point of in 2-minute scenarios is someone has to make a play to win the game, and so put ownership on our part, and obviously he did, and he's taken off from then, and is a guy that we're going to need a big weekend out of this week as well.
And just how do you feel about the way he's playing right now, compared to maybe early this season?
Yeah, no, I think there's certainly some flash plays, some other instances where some missed opportunities. I think there's been some tremendous weekends and some probably trending more towards the just okay. He's also battled a little bit from an injury standpoint and really battled through some of these games too. Which we don't, announce with a megaphone that his ankle hurts or whatever it is, So I give him a lot of credit that, some of those things that, maybe wouldn't have done in the past in terms of grinding through and that. You may not get the production when you're out there, but no, he's battled, and I think he's going to be healthy this weekend, and I expect him to have a good one.
Alex, Lincoln talked yesterday on the conference call about how we're in a unique time, how midseason firings draws attention to coaches on staffs. I wanted to ask you, he said he has complete trust in his staff, knowing that they can handle maybe their name getting thrown out there in coaching. With you and your name's getting thrown out there a lot too, how do you handle what's going on that side versus the job you have at hand? And then I also want to ask you just your desire to be a head coach in the future.
Yeah, I think people would be surprised, and obviously I can only speak for myself. I don't want to speak for the entirety of the profession, but I think you would be surprised in the ability of coaches just to do their job, and have such a huge responsibility. Again, in my role here, it's a role that we've talked at length about over the last several weeks that I need to do a better job of. So believe me, job number one is to prepare these guys to play the best football we've played the entire season, because I think that's what it's going to take to beat a very good Baylor team this weekend. No, that's always the focus. It's hard not to focus, even if you wanted to focus on something else. There's that play that comes to mind from practice that day. There's that play that you might see. There's that adjustment. And again, I don't think I'm unique in that. From that standpoint, even during a bye week, you want to be distracted by your friends and family. Using another example, and you have a tendency to be thinking about that Baylor game in 2 weeks. So it's just kind of how we're programmed. And no, in this profession, there's a number of opportunities that may come your way over time. At one point, you're a graduate assistant, and you're dying to call yourself a position coach. And that may pay you $10,000. And man, if you could make 30 and call yourself a full-time coach with benefits. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. And if you're fortunate, you do a good job and you're around good people, then you have an opportunity past that, and on it goes. So that's kind of the name of upward mobility that way. But that would be the extent of it.
What about your desire personally to be a head coach one day?
Oh, it's there. It absolutely is. And that's something for the offseason.
Alex, you see a lot of times with freshmen, like, they're not ready in September, and they grow into the process to where they're ready. But a couple of your guys, Latrell McCutcheon, Billy Bowman, they had a lot of reps early, and now they're seeing those numbers take a dip. Is it not like have you lost them, but where's their confidence level and how have they handled that?
And it can go so many different ways. I mean, the first thing for a freshman coming in is you just want to, as best you can, put them in a situation where they can possibly, impact your depth, whether on special teams or on defense, somewhere early in the season, because again, with those reps, that's the only way they're going to get better. And so that's for all those guys. And then as you go through it, obviously injuries can change roles along the way. You don't anticipate this is going to happen, then all of a sudden that minimal role turns into a greater role. And in those moments, no one cares that you're a true freshman, right? And so you're evaluated as if you're a senior. Now obviously we talk to guys a little bit different, as their experience level changes. And you're talking about guys that we think can be absolutely studs here in time. Guys with great ability, and they have shown flashes over time as well. But in terms of our confidence in them, it's as high as it's ever been. But that's something that's got to show up on Saturdays. They'll continue to get work and to continue to get opportunities. And the big thing for them is take advantage of those opportunities when they get them. Watch them on the practice field today. They continue to work. Guys that hopefully we get some meaningful reps out of here late.
To follow up on what Eric was asking, when your name is out there as potentially being a candidate for head coaching jobs, how do you handle those conversations with your recruits here at Oklahoma? Do those ever get awkward, or how do you do that?
It doesn't. I mean, I think if it's something that you get far along in the process, where it's something that has to be a conversation, but no, I think just as your name comes out in the media or something like that, one, you're not sure how your name comes out. But I guess the second piece of it is no, it's honest and upfront, and here we are today. So pretty honest.
Alex, when you see turnover in head coaches and coaching staffs, you tend to see change in identity on a team. That might not be the case with Baylor, from Matt Rule to Dave Aranda and their staffs. It looks like a lot of the same playmakers, a lot of the same plays, and a lot of the same guys doing some of the same things.
Well, I think that's a very accurate observation. It really is. I mean, when you watch them, I think the quality in which they play, we've had some absolute battles with them even a year ago. I know their record wasn't what they wanted to be a year ago, but over the last 2 seasons, playing 3 times, and I don't remember the easy game. And you mentioned with different staffs along the way, but a commitment to run the football, the ability to run the football is one thing to commit to. It's another thing to be successful at it. The opportunity to hit explosive plays through the air, and that's against every opponent. That's not just 1 week or versus certain looks, or there's sometimes stats can go a certain way, and then when you break a team down, well, they got most of those yards or those points or whatever it is against Team X or Team Y, but there's lack of consistency that way. But when you look at Baylor, you're talking about a team that consistently through the course of the season, the ability to run the football and then hit explosives through the air. So it'll be another absolute battle down there in Waco.
Hey, Alex. You've talked about kind of wanting to see not only more turnovers but more aggression, causing those turnovers. Was that performance against Texas Tech more of kind of what you wanted to see, and how big was that leading into this game this weekend?
No, I think because you can't have it both ways. You can't kind of be down in the dumps when you don't get turnovers, or be so frustrated, and then when you get them, they act like they're not any big deal, and you just dismiss them. So I mean, I was very excited for the opportunity to come down with 3 footballs in that game. There's more opportunities out there. I think it's a program-defining stat as we go through the month of November. I mean, that's got to be in our favor. The one thing about bye week and watching college football and NFL football, where you're kind of you're not wrapped up in your own game. You see how it just further emphasizes how critical turnover margin is, and as it applies to the defense, obviously we only have one side of that thing in terms of impact, and so that's a major number moving forward. And one of the things we talk about with takeaways is it's also the ones you don't get, because there's the intent. You get more physical football when you got guys with the intent on every single play to get the ball out. You get more bodies around the football, which means then getting tackles. So some of the things that you see in terms of playing elite defensive football is when you have that intent, you may not get the ball out. One of the things we talked about, if you've had 30 opportunities to punch at a football, is that going to be enough to get one out? And that might not be the case, but if there's 30 opportunities, that means there's 30 tackles that guys are making in a position to get the ball out. So it's a huge stat, and again, there's some byproducts of that may not necessarily show up in the takeaway total.
Yeah, good workout, good game against Texas Tech defensively. Is that part of you that you like the off week because you needed it, but you wanted to see it again? Is that part of you that probably want to see it again, see you do it? And also, can you update any injury situation like a Woody Washington? You update on that? Yeah, so we're more positive about Woody than we've ever been. I mean, one of those guys that has been out a long time at this point, and so it's still hopeful, absolutely hopeful to have him this week, and certainly trending that way. I think DJ Graham as well is a guy that was out for a little bit, played a little bit. Jalen Redmond was a guy that played a little bit, trying to work him more back in, got some reps. Cleared. It's one thing to be cleared to play. It's another thing to be able to play at a high level. So envision hopefully getting some more work out of him, which would be good. That back to the injury front. But no, I thought from a performance standpoint, it looked more like the brand of football that we want to play. One game's not going to define who you are. On the good side or the bad side, and so we got to make sure that our intent over the next 3 games, most specifically this week, is guys flying to the football, playing top-down defense. It's amazing how good you can be defensively if you play top-down defense from a secondary standpoint, keeping the ball in front of you. There's not a coverage that doesn't involve someone making a play on the football. And we can draw stuff up and we can invent stuff, and and everybody tries to do that. But eventually, when that ball's in there, someone's got to make a play. And so it was good to see. And there's some missed opportunities in that game as well. And you're never going to make them all, but we was pleased, with the ability to make some of those. And that's something that's. And then all of a sudden, you get a hand on the football and it turns into a takeaway. So all those things apply. So no, it was excited to play a better brand, and that's something that's got to continue for us.
You guys recently got Jalen Redmond back against that Texas Tech game. He said he was a little bit rusty last time we talked to him, as you would imagine. But what have you seen out of him lately in practices, and how big is he when he is able to get real impact for you guys?
He's played very, very good football for us when he's been available for us. Both this year and then years past. He can be an impact guy, and so we expect him to. Like I said, was fortunate to get him a little bit of work. I think he cleared midweek or something like that. You don't get a lot of meaningful snaps in terms of practice, but he understands the defense and try to be smart with him, not just throw him into the fire and see if he kind of sink or swim type of thing. But we're past that now with some good practices last week, good practices this week, which will continue, and now thrilled to have him back from a depth standpoint.
Alex, you talked about it a little bit earlier, about their chunk plays and their ability to go deep. I'm curious about the discipline of your secondary in this game, because if they peak or they're worried about the run game, they seem to run by people. So how disciplined are you guys going to have to be in the secondary to handle this?
No, it's hugely critical, and making sure that you have great eye control. You got one of the things we tell the secondary, you got to defend the run as a pass first defender, and making sure that and so much of what we do is that would-be route runner, will take you to the run, and you got to trust that as opposed to staring at the quarterback, and hopefully he's going to tell you a story, or get, for lack of a better way to put it, kind of lulled to sleep, it's pound, and then all of a sudden they go up top, and so yeah, it's disciplined football. It's making sure that you have a respect for your responsibility on every single snap. If you have a man just that, you're playing top-down defense. If you're a deep zone defender, you got to be willing to come off the top deck, and support the run late and be okay being late and not get antsy and try to get there a click too soon and put yourself in a situation where someone can get behind you. It's always real easy to communicate and talk, in this type of environment. But there's a reason teams have success doing that offensively, and so we got to make sure that we start disciplined and stay disciplined and remain disciplined throughout the course of the game.
It seems like this year in the Big 12, everyone's got a stud running back. Baylor's no different. Abram Smith doesn't maybe get talked about as much as some of the other guys. What have you kind of seen in your evaluation of him, and how does he stack up? What's his skill set like compared to some of the other talented backs you've seen this year?
No, I think the other thing that we found out over the recent weeks and really over the course of the entire season is not just one back. I mean, you're watching. Wait, who's this guy? There's 1 and 7 in the backfield. Wait, I thought we only had to deal with one of them, type of thing. But downhill runners, guys that have top end speed. You see them run away from people, run through tackles. One of the evaluation tools, and this is I guess my evaluation or how I would communicate. Guys that don't mind getting tackled, meaning they run hard. They're not in the position to allow themselves to be in a position where the first guy just brings them to the ground and next play, or they run to the back of the offensive lineman and there wasn't a hole for me type of thing. They're able to find creases, create creases, run hard, run explosive. And like I said, really as you evaluate the entirety of their offense, just consistency over the course of time. There's very few negative plays, very few no gains as you evaluate it. Guys falling forward, piles moving, and what looks like a small crease, all of a sudden turns into an explosive run. So another huge challenge to. Once again, it's easy in this environment to say stop the run, but it's something that certainly we got to do on Saturday.